During the recent recession, the cost of living has skyrocketed. While the price of housing has increased, wages have been slow to catch up. This situation has greatly impacted the small college town of Oberlin, Ohio. This is Reese, Izzy, Lucy, and Dahlia, and today we are examining the housing crisis in Oberlin. Oberlin College is a popular liberal arts college which attracts about 3,000 students to the town per year, serves as a major factor affecting housing prices in the small town surrounding it. Although students are required to live on campus until their fourth year, students who may have 6 or more semesters in residence are eligible to apply for off-campus housing. Many fourth-year college students choose to live off-campus to find cheaper housing, as the current on-campus housing cost is $9,398 per school year for 2023 through 2024, while the average cost of renting a low-cost apartment is $650 to $800 per month, which is at most $6,400 per the whole school year. Besides the fact that students are trying to find cheaper housing, the college has also been buying up the local low-cost housing, which is also a big reason why there's a lack of affordable housing in the town, according to a local landlord.
On top of that, the average listing price of a home in Oberlin on Realtor.com is $282,500, which breaks down to about $56,500 down and then about $1,400 a month. This is generally affordable as the median annual income of an Oberlin resident is $62,696, according to the 2020 U.S. Census. However, 22.7% of the population lives below the poverty line, meaning that they earn $30,000 or less annually, which makes that $282,500 price grossly unaffordable.
We reached out to Oberlin City Council member Michael McFarland for his thoughts on the Oberlin housing crisis. This is what he had to say.
Okay, so my questions today are, why is the town of Oberlin in a housing crisis? Why is it difficult to find affordable housing? And are there any plans to fix it?
Well, the bottom line is because of the demand. The good thing is that Oberlin is a desirable place to live. So people want to be here. It's a livable city, and that sort of creates demand and creates a little bit of pressure on prices, moving them upwards. You have the college that has some students who want to live off campus, the college that brings in staff and their families and faculty and their families, and they would like a place to live in town. Enrollment has gone up at the college, so there's a little bit of pressure coming from the college side. I think another piece is that the city hasn't really kept up with the need for new housing. A lot of the houses in the neighborhoods in Oberlin are older and not as desirable as maybe some new developments outside of the city. So maybe people see that as not where they want to go, or it's too costly to renovate in town to get them up to the point that they would want to move in. But overall, it kind of comes down to this idea of it's a great place to be and a great place to live, and people want to be here. So it's good on that end, but we just don't have enough housing. See, why is it difficult to find affordable housing? Like I said, from the consumer side, there is demand. And when there's demand like that, what often happens is if you have single-family homes that are owned, or if you have rentals around town, you have a situation sometimes where people who could afford to live in, say, a newer home or a more expensive home, they're occupying those more affordable homes or rental spaces because there's not enough other stock of houses around. So if there were more options for them, they may move into those and therefore free up the spaces for other folks to find it. On the developer side, that is the home builder side, there's no money in it. So a person that develops neighborhoods as their business, they're not going to come in and say, oh, I'm going to put in a development and make it all affordable or make it a high percentage of affordable options, because they won't make any money. That's not easy to do. So on the developer side, it doesn't happen often that a developer comes to us and say, hey, I want to do affordable housing for you, because they're not going to make money. And if those aren't being built, then of course the people who need them can't find them, so it's hard for them to find. And then you ask, are there plans to fix it? Here in Oberlin, this last council, we have done a few things to try and fix it. We have several vacant lots around the city. We have teamed up with the Oberlin Land Trust and donated 2 properties to them, and through their own financing, they're going to build a couple of homes in the next year or two that will be affordable, and they will be forever affordable by deed. And we'll see how that goes. Hopefully that goes well and we can find ways to find some other land to expand that program. We have also actually teamed up with a private developer who was interested in creating some affordable home options. They are going to arrange their own kind of financing. We have donated 8 properties to that person, but the city doesn't really have a hand in what's going to be built there. His idea is that he wanted to do a program where people who need affordable housing start out renting and then within 5 years become owners of that home. And in the meantime, he will have some programming about how to be responsible homeowners. And like I said, if people are able to get those homes and they're occupying a home which may be more accessible for someone in a lower income, level, if they move into these newer homes or something, then that maybe frees up some things on the other end so people can get homes more affordably. I hope that answers the questions. Thanks.
Do you feel like there's an affordable housing crisis?
Absolutely. And I am also finding out that it's not just unique to Oberlin. I recently was at a nationwide conference for elected officials from all over the country, and everybody is facing housing crises in their towns. Oberlin can be unique in that it's a college town, but we're all kind of facing a similar crisis in having enough housing, period, but also enough housing that's affordable for people with modest or low incomes. So that's one of the things that I'm really hoping that we can continue working on as part of City Council to address that and have more housing available for people at all income levels, but particularly the low and moderate income levels. We have actually some things kind of in early stages, but in progress. So we have been working with a developer to develop affordable houses on 8 city-owned lots around the city. There's lots of opportunities, but we have a chance to think about a layered approach where we can do several different things at once, right? I think too, with the college building a new dorm, I think that would help.
Yeah, what impact do you think that the college has on the town in terms of housing?
It's huge, right? So the more students are granted off-campus privileges, the fewer houses are available for other non-student people to live. And that includes faculty, visiting faculty, regular tenure track faculty, people who are not affiliated with the college. And so the way I see it, I think in the last few years, and I could be wrong, this is just my view on things, right? It seems like the college has been over-enrolling, right? Therefore, more students are given off-campus privileges. That sucks up the housing. I heard a story from a friend of mine, this was several years ago, and when she first moved back to Oberlin, so we're college friends. She moved away. When she was coming back here, she had 2 young kids. Her kids are grown now, so this is a story from a while ago, but I think it's still relevant. So she was coming back to Oberlin. She had 2 small kids, and property owners who had places to rent didn't want to rent out a whole house to her and her family because they'd rather rent by the room to students because in my view, they can make more money that way, renting by the room than renting the whole house. She ultimately did find a place, and she actually doesn't live in Oberlin anymore, but she lived here for several years while she was raising her kids. But it's things like that that kind of take housing stock off the market for people who want to come to Oberlin, for people who maybe already live here. But I think hopefully having a new dorm on campus and bringing more students back on campus rather than off might help. Mm-hmm. But also, like I said, working with developers to create single family homes, multiple unit apartments or whatever. That's what I really want to keep working on City Council.
Yeah.
I know a family who lived next door to me. I think they moved a couple years ago. But they were renting their home. And for reasons that I don't know, the homeowner wanted to sell the house. And I don't know why they didn't buy it. Maybe it wasn't ultimately what they wanted. I don't know if it was affordable for them or not. It doesn't matter. The point is, they were moving out of this house. They wanted to stay in Oberlin. Guess what? They couldn't find anything that was appropriate for their family size or their income, or maybe both. I don't know. But they ended up leaving and going to Lorain, where I think they are happy. I think they are very happy with where they moved and how that all was working out. But I do know that they originally wanted to stay in town and couldn't do it. And so I don't know how many other stories there are like that of people who want to come here or want to stay here and just can't. And that really makes me sad. I want people to be able to live where they want to live and not go broke trying to do it. So that's really one of my goals, is to help the city keep making progress on that. And hopefully sooner rather than later, we could actually see some things happening. Like I said, all of this is in the early stages right now, but we can only do what we can do.
Yeah.
But if we don't do anything, it won't get any better, right? And so I feel confident that the current city council and the incoming city council for next term are on the same page as far as making good progress on that for everybody, right? And so this is where it's really important to have a good partnership between the city and the college and be able to work together to make some really amazing things happen. And if you look at the history of the college and the city, we were born together, we grew up together. The college has to keep the city's best interests in mind, but it goes the other way too. The city has to consider the college to some degree in the policies that it makes because they are our largest employer in the city, right? And so I want us to keep making good progress on all those fronts that make Oberlin a place that people want to be.
According to townspeople Sarah Humphreys and Krista Long, the new dorm is a very positive development for people who want to live in Oberlin. Humphreys has recently moved into an apartment with her partner.
Yeah, it was very hard to find a rental moving back to the community, and I had a relationship with someone that was already here, and he was on the ground for 2 years looking for a rental. Found it sort of in the last year before I joined him out here. So he applied to many different housing, filled out applications, paid application fees, and would often never hear back from people, or there were just so many applicants that, can't make the cut.
Yeah. And according to her coworker Long, who is on the Oberlin Community Land Trust, an organization focused on protecting and facilitating low-income housing, some of the biggest issues the town is facing is that it has not significantly built since the 1960s, and that landlords have situated their apartments in such a way that it is ideal for students. Many rent out rooms at a time for the whole semester or school year instead of renting out whole apartments with a month-to-month lease.
Northeast Ohio has at least that benefit of being one of the more affordable housing markets out there. Now, within Northeast Ohio, though, what is really important is to remember that not all cities and towns and neighborhoods are created equal. And so while we may say Northeast Ohio overall is pretty affordable, it does not necessarily mean that every neighborhood, every city within Northeast Ohio is affordable. Right. So the city of Oberlin is kind of, to me, represents a little bit of a strange anomaly in all of this. And that is because being college town, we have this real pressure on housing prices. So housing prices in Oberlin are probably a little bit higher than surrounding areas in Lorain County because of the pressures of having college professors living in the town. Yeah. And so they tend to push up the prices a little bit relative to other parts of Lorain.
That was Rong Chiang, an economics professor at Oberlin College that was kind enough to sit down with us to answer some questions about how the past 20 years have affected the housing market, especially the pandemic.
I think it was probably a trend that we have been seeing even without a pandemic. We were seeing these real concerning housing affordability trends in many markets where entry level jobs for students out of college, right, would not come even close to affording a down payment on a home. Not for at least 5-10 years, or in many cases more in some parts of the country.
Yeah. Chiang later mentioned that a lot of professors and other faculty would love to live near or on campus, but there is nothing for sale. A solution he has seen elsewhere is schools building faculty housing. Not only would this open up housing for professors and faculty, but staff moving into those residences would open up more housing for the townspeople.